I don't know what to do. Just the window came. That's select window or an application that you want to share. I know how to.
Just open a photo or some documents in your screen first, and then just try to share that. I think it is okay from here. Because this is, enabled for all the panelists, not for all the attendees, but for all the panelists. So if you want to share, please send that to my email. If there, some problem comes, we will fix it.
So let me. No, this
so now
is.
we're going to start. Good afternoon, everybody, distinguished speakers of this webinar, fellow participants, and dear colleagues. I am Yuvraj Saulagai, the Vice Chairperson of the organizing institution, Nepal Institute of International Relations. I will be moderating the webinar of today. Firstly, I would like to request Dr. Rishiraj Adhikari, the Chairperson of Nepal Institute of International Relations, the organizing institution, to chair this webinar. Dr. Adhikari.
Namaste, everybody. Welcome to you all. Now we don't want to waste any time. I'll request Yuvraj to go ahead with the program. Thank you.
So short and brief, sweet, short and sweet.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think he told Yuvraj, not Yuvnath.
Oh, Yuvraj, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Let me take this opportunity to say a few words about the organizer first. Nepal Institute of International Relations, the organizer of the webinar today, is an independent, non-governmental organization established in 2019. It has the objectives of doing research, publication, and discussion forums on international politics, diplomacy, and foreign relations. For the betterment of Nepal and its people, NIIR aims to support Nepal government to adopt necessary steps to make Nepal's foreign policy substantial to cope up with the changing environment of the world and in land as well. Since its formation, it has already organized 18 webinars and running one as 19th if being counted. The present webinar has been organized to discuss on the topic Nepal-EU relations in the changing geopolitical context. We will sit around 2 hours with this webinar. Firstly, distinguished panelists will deliver their views on the topic for approximately an hour, and there will be question and answer session followed by the presentation. We request all the participants and all the Facebook watchers as well to post the questions from your side to the QA box who are directly joined here in Zoom webinar, to the comment box who are watching us on Facebook Live. This webinar will be streamed through the Facebook page of NIIR Nepal. The entire program will be uploaded in the YouTube channel of the organizer as well. We request all of you to subscribe the YouTube channel of NIIR to get the regular notification of our webinars. Now let me welcome the speakers without any delay. Today we are honored with the presence of 3 sitting ambassadors from different destinations. Let me start by introducing Her Excellency, Madam Nona Depres, the Ambassador of EU to Nepal. Excellency, Nona Depres, you are welcome to the webinar. I guess you are listening me. Madam Nona Depres is the newly appointed EU ambassador to Nepal. She presented her credentials to President of Nepal on 27 December, maybe 4 days, a week before. Prior to this assignment, Mrs. Nona Depres was head of the unit for the partnership instrument in the Service of Foreign Policy Instrument, FPI, of the European Commission in Brussels. At the start of the new commission, Nona Depres was appointed equality coordinator for the service. Within the FPI, she has worked previously on election observations missions and the instrument contributing to stability and peace after having served in 2 European Union delegations to Indonesia and Benin. She holds a Master's of Science in European Studies from London School of Economics, following the first Master's in Business Engineering from the Solvay Business School, ULB. Again, welcoming her. I will turn to another panelist. His Excellency Yugnath Lamsal, Ambassador of Nepal to Denmark. Ambassador Lamsal, you are welcome in this webinar. His Excellency Yugnath Lamsal assumed his duties as Ambassador of Nepal to the Kingdom of Denmark from 23rd May 2017. Mr. Lamsal was former editor-in-chief of Nepal's pioneer English daily, The Rising Nepal, and worked in the media sector for the last 3 decades. Besides, he was associated with the South Asian Media Network, a news organ of the South Asian Free Media Association, SAACMA, as Nepal country editor from January 2003 to May 2010. He has contributed with different responsibilities to the magazines and papers from home and abroad, and he conducted many research works for different issues. Engaged in a lot of national and international media activities and trainings, Ambassador Lamsal is a graduate from Tribhuvan University, Nepal. Mr. Lamsal is a co-author of a book, Conflict Reporting in Asia, published by School of Journalism, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. He has also written over 1,000 features and opinion articles in different newspapers and magazines, both at home and abroad. His areas of interest are foreign policy, media, democracy, security, development, environment, and human rights. He has received Natural Calamity Rescue Medal for voluntary work at the time of natural calamity of Nepal, and Golden Jubilee Gold Medal from Gorkhapatra Sasthan, Nepal. Having said that, I would like to turn to another panelist of this webinar, His Excellency Lok Bahadur Thapa. Ambassador Thapa, you are welcome to this webinar. Ambassador Lok Bahadur Thapa assumed the office of Nepalese Ambassador to EU and Belgium on October 28, 2016. Mr. Thapa has 2 master's degrees, one in public administration from Tribhuvan University, Nepal, and another in diplomacy from Lancaster University, the UK. Ambassador Thapa has obtained training on different issues of diplomacy and international relations from Nepal, Australia, the UK, South Korea, Thailand, and the USA. Ambassador Thapa joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2019 and hold different positions from NASU to the Joint Secretary, from Protocol Division to the Passport Department, and from embassy staffs to the ambassador himself. Ambassador Thapa has experience of the Nepali embassies of China, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Australia. Before this appointment, prior to the posting as an ambassador of EU, he was a successful General Manager of Passport Department at Nepal. I'm not sure the GM is right terminology or not. Distinguished panelists, hello participants, ladies and gentlemen. We, the organizers, have already sent the concept note to the distinguished speakers about the topic of this webinar, and we hope that the concern of the organizer has been well conveyed to the panelists. Today, including the concept and the queries covered by the concept note, we will be discussing on the points raised by the scholarly participants of this webinar. Before that, let me take this opportunity to say a few words about the topic connecting to the discussion of this webinar. Nepal and EU have the official relations even before the formation of EU, when it was called EC, the European Community, in 1975. Nepal and the EU have developed more than 4 decades of diplomatic and friendly relations till now. There is a regular exchanges of high-level visits, meeting of official permanent mechanisms, and trade relations between the two sides. The EU has been a reliable development partner and one of the biggest donors of Nepal for around half a century in the fields of economy, trade, humanitarian, and development issues. The European Commission is also involved in partnering with regional bodies of this region in SAARC and ICIMOD as well. The EU was granted the observer status of SAARC in 2007. EU has been cooperating on 3 priorities agreed with the Government of Nepal, namely rural development, education, and democracy and decentralization. Furthermore, the EU supports Nepal in achieving the sustainable development goals in graduating from LDC status and in improving Nepal's resilience to the adverse effects of climate change. The total assistance of the current program cycle 2014-20 amounts euro 360 million, around 50 billion Nepali rupees. When the COVID crisis hit Nepal, the European Union provided immediately response in mobilizing a package of euro 75 million, around 10 billion rupees of Nepal. This support was closely coordinated with the EU member states, working as one in streamlined team European initiative. Nepal has significant number of our missions in EU nations, which critics say an Eurocentric diplomatic distribution of Nepal. Nepal has been actively addressing the concerns of EU in bilateral, regional, and UN or the World Forum so far as it can. But EU sometimes engages to public criticize or lobbies against the official strengths of Nepal, especially in the issues of transitional justice, which is literally denial of the core value of the peace process of Nepal, as analysts say. Similarly, EU's ban against the Nepali airline to her aerial territory, despite Nepal's repeated commitment to adopt the proper measures, is another issue of Nepal in the present context. In this scenario, we have raised some queries in our notes that I want to recall here in this webinar. Is Nepal-EU relationship strong enough not to be discussed by global superpower rivalry? How EU is aware about the strategic sensitivity of Nepal being wedged between 2 rival giants? What are other areas of cooperation between EU and Nepal towards realization of Nepal's dream of prosperity and development? What changes might be there in Nepal-EU relationship in the changing global political context? Is Nepal's diplomatic presence in EU countries so necessary for the nation, or this can be further managed by reducing down with some of the selected missions? So these are some queries that have been raised by the organizers in the concept note that has been sent to the ambassadors. So having said these quick points, I would like to turn to the ambassadors, the panelists of today. Firstly, may I request His Excellency Yugnath Lamsal for his deliberation. Excellency Ambassador, you have 20 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Raji. Let me first thank you very much, Chairman of this session, as well as Chairman of Nepal Institute of International Relations, Dr. Rishi Adhikari and Yuvrajji, and other members in the team of the Nepal Institute of International Relations, my fellow panelist, Dr. Ambassador Lokbahadur Thapa and Ambassador Nona. How should I say Nona Diphrez? Am I correct? Yeah. So the name sounds very much Nepali name. So Nona is a very famous name in Nepal. So it's a I think you are chosen. I think I am most appropriate person, and all distinguished participants. So I sincerely express my gratitude to the Nepal Institute of International Relations for inviting me to this virtual conference and providing me the opportunity to share my views on this very important issue and topics, that is Nepal-EU relations in the changing global context. So for that, I really thank the organizers. And I also thank you for choosing these very important topics. As Yuvrajji already said, that there are critics that Nepal's diplomacy is Europe-centric, but I think it's not that. I think Nepal's engagement and presence should be more in Europe. So it's not enough. If you ask me, that my answer will be that. And just I went through the concept note, and I think the concept note tells everything. So whatever we have to say, I think it's already there in concept note, and it covers everything, and from the history to the present state of relations. So that is one thing. And the other thing is, you have chosen two ambassadors, the Ambassador Thapa and Ambassador Nona. They are the most appropriate person, very, very right persons to speak on Nepal-EU relations. I think I may not be able to explain every aspect, every nitty and gritty of the relations existing between the Nepal with EU, because they are the ones who are handling the Nepal-India relation. They are more knowledgeable than I. So I am responsible for part of EU members. I think just I am responsible for 5 Nordic and Baltic countries, including Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Lithuania. So of the five, 4 are EU members, and Norway is not. Although Norway is not the EU member, but although it's a part of the broader European cooperation arrangements. So I may not, my views may not represent the very authoritative voice, the views. So Ambassador Thapa and Ambassador Nona, I think they are the ones who tell us the very authoritative voice and views on Nepal-EU relations. So let's hear. So I look forward to hearing from them. Let's hear from the horse's mouth. So now I'll try to give a broader picture of the Nepal-EU relations. So so when we say EU in Nepal laymen just normally think of, they have different, different pictures comes up into the mind of Nepalese people about Europe. When we say EU, the entire Europe comes to their mind. That means the EU means entire Europe, European countries, but that's not true. The EU does not represent the entire Europe. So Europe doesn't mean that it is all the countries are the members of European Union. It's not that. Out of, I think there are 44 countries, in Europe, but there are only 27 members are the members of the European Union. So that is one thing. The other thing is, the people think that Europe means all countries are very prosperous, they have high level of income, and thus they have very democratic system of government and complete freedom, human rights, abundant opportunities. So of course, to a large extent they are true, but not absolutely actually. So Europe is definitely, European countries, all European countries are, they are richer than Nepal, more prosperous than Nepal, and they have high level of income, and they have democratic system of governments, their freedom, human rights, etc. they have. But from European standard, not all the countries are rich. There are rich countries and let's say less rich. I don't call them poor, but less rich. So there is a fault lines, and there is a gap, and there is a difference and disparity. So that is one thing. So so this is the picture of Europe. So for Nepal, and not only for Nepal, for the world, Europe, why Europe matters? Europe matters. Just Yuvraj said that critics, there are some critics that they say that Nepal diplomacy is Europe-centric, but they say, but why it is so? Why Europe is important? Not only for Nepal, but from the entire world. So Europe is a pioneer in many things, from intellectual awareness into this scholar Renaissance in the field of literature, art, music. That's a kind of new modern awareness that it began from Europe, and it's the home to great philosophies and philosophers, from Socrates to Plato to Aristotle to modern day Nietzsche and the Rousseau and Voltaire. So all they were the product of Europe. And similarly, the modern day, the concept of modern democracy also began in Europe, just like French Revolution. That's the issue. That is equality, liberty, fraternity. The main slogan. Even today, this slogan continues to be the inspiration for the all people who democracy-loving people all over the world. Similarly, the industrial revolution took place in Europe. The all political ideologies, they are the product of Europe. Capitalism, Marxism, socialism, social democracy, all they were born and they were practiced in Europe. And later they were spread to other part of the world. And great economists also were the product of Europe. And scientists and scientific revolution, also they began from Europe, and they spread all over the world. So similarly, now we say diplomacy, that's the product of Europe, no, Vienna Convention. That's the basis for diplomatic norms and values and rules. That is also product of Europe. So because of this, Europe is important. One more thing, let me tell you, at present, Europe accounts for 7% of world's population. 7% of world population, but its contribution to global GDP is 25%. Just the statistics, according to statistics. And so 7% population contributes to almost 25% of total global GDP. Similarly, out of total social spending in the world, Europe alone finances 50%. I mean, of course, it's within the European continent, but it's a share of the social spending of global spending is almost half of Europe's share, goes to Europe's share. So this is the reason why Europe dominates. Europe is in the lead role, and this is the reason why Europe matters for the world. And for Nepal, especially because of the additionally, it's important. Europe is important for Nepal is this because we have diplomatic relations long before EU and EC were born, because we established diplomatic relations, I think, with the European country, United Kingdom, in 1816. That is 204 years ago. That's the first country with which we established diplomatic relation is European country. So European country. So why Europe is important for Nepal is 3 Security Council members out of 5 permanent Security Council members are 3 or you can say are Europeans. Europeans. Let's say the Russia also, let's say European, and European, and the role European countries played during the Cold War to support Nepal is very important. Very important. When Nepal was just was struggling, Nepal was struggling for development and for the stabilization of the political system, and it's exercising its independence, its sovereignty, and so all. At that time, it was in a very fragile state, Nepal, and economically and in other terms also. And during those difficult period, and there was a different scenario in our neighborhood. The developments in our neighborhood during those days, 1560s, 70s. So there was a different scenario. There are some countries just suddenly vanished, disappeared from the global map. You can just see. And some new countries emerged. Just say Bangladesh emerged out of Pakistan, and then so you can see the development in Afghanistan in 1979, and Soviet, because of Soviet invasion, there was a proxy war between 2 superpowers in Afghanistan. So because of that, Nepal position was very vulnerable, and so economically it was not stable, not strong enough. But European countries, just let's say from Asia, Japan, and from Europe, Germany, and United Kingdom, etc., United States, they gave us very meaningful and substantive support, both economically, technically, and even politically. Because of that, Nepal could stand as an independent country, as a sovereign country, and as a viable country, both economically, politically, and in other terms also. So that role is also there. This is one reason why is very important. And other thing is, history is witness. History is witness that Europe is so important in geopolitical balance, international power balance. Also, Europe's role is very important. It's international the power balance tilts to where the European Union or Europe stands. Especially European Union stands. So I don't have to go into detail, but so you can just understand. And but if Europe remains, now Europe is divided. Europe is divided. European Union doesn't represent all entire Europe. If Europe is united, I think it will continue to lead the world. So this is my take on why Europe is important. So now Europe is divided between East and West. In the past, Europe was divided ideologically, now it's divided economically, and this in terms of the undivided and based on values, etc. So this is one thing. The other thing is just now I want to go into is I said what Europe means. Now let's say what EU. I don't want to go into detail. Europe is a group of 27 countries. It's bound together by the Maastricht Treaty. It was signed in 1991 and came into force in 1993. So it has its goal. The Maastricht Treaty's goal is European Union's main goal, or you can say the objectives of Maastricht Treaty is peace, prosperity, and pursuit of happiness. So, based on these three core goals, it has developed many other sub goals and these things. So, I don't want to go into those things. So, it has its own values. That's the values of this European Union's human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, rule of law, and human rights. Based on these values, European Union supports, European Union promotes these values both at home and abroad. So it supports Nepal based on these values. Thus, Nepal is supporting mainly on the field of democracy, freedom, this prosperity, development, human rights, peace, equality, gender equality, rule of law, etc., etc. So, but the situation is changing. Changing, and the European countries are reducing their support to Nepal. Just Denmark has almost phased out its support to Nepal, the economic assistance to Nepal, and it has decided to channel its support to Nepal to EU. More countries are now trying to reduce their bilateral assistance, and they are increasing the providing support to Nepal through multilateral channels, through EU, European Union, and through others, international humanitarian other organizations. So because of this also, Europe's the importance for Nepal is rising. So that is there. So I say
you have to summarize within 2 minutes.
Okay. Nepal's relations, there are three levels of relations to be released, in three levels. Strategic level means just working with the EU in international forums and on international issues. That's one, the strategic level, and others is political level, that having the relations and contact officially at the popular level and business level. And there is another level is economic level, that is the enhancing relations in the with the two sides in terms of aid, trade, investment, and promoting tourism, technology transfer, etc. So these are the things we should promote. I know these are the level of relations between EU and Nepal. So it is not only Europe matters for Nepal, not only that, but Nepal matters for Europe also. It's not that only Nepal needs Europe, but Europe also needs Nepal. Why in Europe and other countries need Nepal means Nepal's, as one of the ambassadors said, that Europe is the center of the global civilization, they say. But if Europe is center of global civilization, Nepal is the center of Himalayan civilization, Oriental civilization. So Nepal's this significance is growing, geopolitical significance is growing, especially at present that the 21st century is going to be Asian century. The 19th century was European century, and the 20th century was the American century. Now 21st century is going to be European century. European century means who are going to lead? Just you can say, just our neighbors are going to lead. So you can just imagine where Nepal is located. So Nepal is going to be the heart and center of the 21st century, the geopolitical, the balance, the power. So that is why Nepal's importance is rising. So the necessity is reciprocal. And the other thing is Nepal is a mid-sized country. In terms of market also, Nepal is, of course, it is small. If we compare with China and India, but if you compare with several the European countries, Nepal is a sizable market. It's not a small country, it's a mid-sized country. So because of that also, Nepal is important. And the other thing is, Nepalese people Nepal is more receptive to those liberal values that European Union or Europe promoted, European has adopted. So because of all these things, so Nepal EU relations are based. So accordingly, they should be promoted. But I didn't. So now I wanted to go to a little bit about Nordic countries and the Nordic model, but because of time constraint, so I'll conclude here because I don't want to take longer time. So in the Q&A session, if there is any question and regarding, then I'll come back to you. So thank you very much for now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambassador Lamsar, for your timely presentation. We will come back to you, as you just said, on the question and answer session with a lot of questions raised by the attendees and from my side as well. So without any delay, I would like to, may I request Madam Nona Depres, Ambassador of European Union to Nepal, for her deliberation. Ambassador Depres, please. You have 20 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the organizers, the Nepal.
Something went wrong.
Hello, is there any problem?
I think there's a sound. I think it's we are. I'm not hearing.
Hear me?
Not very clear. You are not. We cannot hear you, and even the video is off.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now it's clear, but the video is not working.
I'm sorry, my connection is unstable. There's nothing I can do about it.
So please continue. Maybe the video will work later, but we can hear you. Now it's muted, Ambassador. What is the problem? Select. So let's hope that she will join again. So, oh yeah, she's there. Ambassador, yeah, you are now there. You can continue, please. Yeah, it's good.
Sorry, I'll keep it short. Anyway.
So it's muted. Please unmute first. Yeah, again muted. Yeah. Yeah, now keep going.
Yes. Okay. Good. I can only agree with the honorable speaker before me, Ambassador Yubanat Lamsal, because of course I think EU matters for Nepal, but Nepal matters very much for the EU too, and that is why we are present in Nepal. I think EU diplomacy with Nepal exists in its own right. Despite the geographic distance between us, we have a lot in common and we have a lot to share. I think just listening to the speeches by your Prime Minister at the recent United Nations General Assembly, listening to the Foreign Minister, listening to the President, we share so many values and so many interests. We both are very strong defenders and supporters of effective multilateralism. So we're both wanting to reform the UN, to have the UN at the center of the multilateralism. And this is because I think both the EU and Nepal understand that things like we cannot fight climate change on our own. Those are things that we need to fight all together. These are global common goods. I think your Prime Minister also said, for example, that the Himalayas is a common good for humanity. This is where we have a lot to share, a lot to learn from each other. We in Europe, we also have the Alps. We also have the same issues with climate change. So that's a very important topic where we can work together. I mean, this is just one. It's climate change, it's biodiversity.
Muted.
We share the same values of human rights, of good governance, of women economic empowerment. I don't touch anything, but it's Can you unmute me?
Buster, you can
Okay.
continue. We can hear you.
Okay. So if I just read your constitution, which is very progressive in terms of women's rights, I think as the previous speaker was saying, in Europe, countries are also very different and very diverse from each other. We have the northern countries where the previous speaker is credited to, which are very strong in terms of gender equality. We have southern countries where there is still a lot of progress to be made. These are experiences that we should share. You know, we have some federal countries, we have some that are more, that are less federal. Those are all experiences that we can share and where we can really learn from each other. So I think what is also really important to realize for both the EU and both Nepal is that EU, although of course a major donor in terms of development cooperation, is not only a donor. You know, we are partners. And we need to partner and we need to build alliances on all of those other aspects where we share values and where we need to fight together for the sake of the planet, for the sake of human rights, for the sake of women's rights, for the sake of children's rights. We're in this fight together, and it's the same. We've seen it in COVID. I mean, the EU has given a specific response program to Nepal, as you mentioned in your introduction, but the EU has also been at the forefront of to lead the global fight against COVID, to make sure that treatments and vaccines are available quickly, but more importantly, are available to the entire world. And this is, again, one thing where we're in it together. And now I think the EU has given a very strong message on promoting a green recovery from COVID, and saying that we need to build back better. And that's, again, another area where I think there is a lot to share, a lot in common, where we're really on the same line, because the Nepali authorities also want to build back better. So there again, we have a lot of interests in common. So I think I would only welcome, of course, Nepali diplomatic presence in the EU, and vice versa. I think it's very important, and of course, human interaction and human presence, despite the current circumstances of COVID, they remain very important. So I think that the diplomats still have an important role to play to ensure also that there are these links, these economic links, the development links, but also the political links, and then of course also the people-to-people links, because there are a lot of exchanges between the EU and Nepal of young people learning from each other. So I think those are all areas that we need to foster our relationship. I think even on that, we are on the same page. I mean, 2 years ago, the EU and Nepal jointly decided that we would upgrade our relationship and our partnership, our friendly relations, by having this meeting, the EU-Nepal Joint Commission, to have it annually instead of once every 2 years. So I think it really shows the importance that both sides attach to the relationship. Then just one word about the EU member states. Of course, for us, for the EU in foreign relations, in foreign diplomacy, the EU member states matter. So all of the decisions are taken in consensus. So we have a very strong involvement and a strong interaction between the EU and its member states. So I have very close relationship with the EU and bilateral ambassadors that are accredited to Nepal, both those posted in Kathmandu and those posted in Delhi. And that's very important because we convey the same message, of course. So we try to have, it's still work in progress. I mean, the EU is still building itself. And I think we've seen also in the current crisis of COVID that we have been able to surmount our difficulties and our differences. And we have been able to put together a package of solidarity between the different member states. You know, we have, as the ambassador said, we have poorer member states, we have richer member states, we have those that have resisted better to the COVID crisis, those that have resisted less well. But we have managed to agree on a common package on a green recovery. And we've also agreed to put our debts in common so that we all share the burden together. I think that's a very important message. And it just shows that it's work in progress. But I would agree also with the previous speaker. As long as we remain united and we show solidarity with one another, we will remain strong, and we will remain a strong and reliable and trustworthy partner for all of our partners in the world. And we will also remain an important player. No, it's only together that we, as the EU, will remain a geopolitical power, or will play the geopolitical role that we aim to play. That's all for me, and happy to answer any questions, of course. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ambassador Nona Depres, for your brief presentation. Maybe this is the very first public presentation by you after your credential, is it? No. All right.
No, I've been lucky enough since 1 week. I've met the Nepali authorities, and I've also spoken at a webinar on disaster risk management. Oh. Another topic, I think, where we work very closely together.
No, that's fine. So we wish your very successful tenure in Nepal, and we hope that the relationship between Nepal and EU will further enhance in your this tenure. So thanking you, we will come back to you with the questions after the first round ends. Having said that, we now turn to Ambassador Thapa. So may I request Ambassador Mr. Thapa for his presentation. You have 20 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you, Yuvrajji. The chair of the session and the panelists, Your Excellency, Mrs. Nona Depres, Ambassador of EU to Nepal, Your Excellency, Mr. Yugnat Lamsal, distinguished participants, academics, media person who are watching this live video, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me express how happy I was when you scheduled these programs. It was because I always wish that our think tanks and academics give due importance and priority to discuss the important aspects of all Nepal and EU relations. For this, I wish to express my sincere thanks to Rishi sir and Yuvrajji for venturing on these very important topics. Let me firstly see the historical perspective, though Yuvrajji already highlighted before. We know that Nepal and the EU established a formal diplomatic relations in 1975. But indeed, economic and development cooperations, our partnership, which started as early as 1973, preceded formal diplomatic relations. It was the time, he highlighted, the European Economic Community, the precursor of the European Union, was functioning with only 9 members. That means that apart from the original six founding members, Denmark, Ireland, and the UK just joined the EEC. When we started our cooperations with the European Union, Nepal had established diplomatic relations with only 18 countries in the European continent itself. So what we can say that in the second phase of our relations, and we opened our embassy in Brussels in 1992. It was the time, we can note that it was the times where immediately after the restoration of democracy in Nepal in 1990, and the first multi-party elections which was held in 91 in Nepal. Similarly, also in Europe, it was a momentous time in the annals of the history of the European Union itself. It was just after the conclusion and before the Maastricht Treaty came into force in 1993. Thus, the opening of our diplomatic missions in Brussels was a clear manifestation of our desire to further strengthen our diplomatic relations and more engagement with the European Union then. Similarly, from the EU side, we see a lot of changes within the European Union in the aftermath of the ratification of the Lisbon Treaty and the landmark treaty. The Lisbon Treaty helped to usher in a new era of cooperation and the strengthening of the European institution. More importantly, the EEAS was created with the responsibility to deal with the foreign affairs. The result was very clear that the EU established its full-fledged diplomatic mission in Kathmandu. It reflected the EU's consistent policy to give the priority to its relations with Nepal and also engage more broadly in its economic and social development. Now let me talk about why our relationship with the EU has become all the more important over the years, though our two colleagues already highlighted those points. Firstly, as you know that both Nepal and EU have shared interests on many international issues. They have common views on the need of strengthening multilateralism. Both of us would like to see the increased role of the UN. We want to see the robust multilateral agencies, whether it is WTO or WHO or others. Similarly, Nepal and the EU have similar interests on many issues, whether it is climate change and others. For the reason, both Nepal and EU underline the importance of further strengthening of partnership, their cooperations, their collaborations on various global and regional issues. In fact, they both have reiterated the commitment to work jointly in the United Nations, WTO, WHO, and other international fora for the effective multilateralism and rule-based order, which our Prime Minister, when he addressed the UNGA, he highlighted very much. Recently, we have agreed on the importance of tackling climate change and on the making of COP26, COP26 in Glasgow a success. Similarly, we are very happy that the European Union was supporting and is still supporting to our Sagarmatha dialogue, although it had to be cancelled, but we hope that the EU will be sending its committed before the high-level delegation when we resume the important dialogue in Kathmandu. Secondly, both Nepal and the EU are abided by the same values which our ambassadors already highlighted before. We all know that the European Union is based on a set of shared values, including the fundamental rights, democracy, and the rule of law. These values have remained as the bedrock of EU's common identity. On the other hand, Nepal is deeply committed to those values. No doubt, democracy, rule of law, good governance, independence of judiciary, freedom of press are not only sacrosanct for us, but those values are the salient features of the new constitution promulgated in 2015. It is also obvious that the EU remains a consistent supporter of a democratic and inclusive constitution of Nepal. The EU has always supported peace, stability, and prosperity in Nepal. They have expressed happiness over the progress Nepal has been making in the implementation of the constitution. The third thing I would like to mention is that the EU is supporting Nepal's prosperity agenda. Indeed, as highlighted before, the EU has remained a major and reliable development partner of Nepal for over almost 5 decades now. The support has been channeled on bilateral, on multilateral basis. But it is not only our development partnership, it's matter, it is long-standing. But the EU, together with the member states, has been the biggest provider of development aid to Nepal. There has been a significant increase over the years, and we hope that in the next multi-annual framework, Nepal will get the similar sort of support. So because the EU support to Nepal has been very instrumental in poverty reduction, in providing basic and primary education, rural development, and to increase the trading capacity of Nepal, and to provide energy, supporting climate change, or overall improving the good governance in Nepal. Lastly, Nepal and the EU have a huge potential to capitalize on for their mutual benefit. That is why our relations matters, I believe. And be it in trade or investment, tourism, technology, or its transport, green economy, connectivity, digitalization, there are so many areas where our two sides, both Nepal and European Union and its member states, can work together. And let me now highlight what we are doing in order to enhance those relations, enhance those cooperation and collaborations, as well as those potential between Nepal and the EU. Firstly, Nepal can see that both Nepal and EU have given importance to their relations. The EU has stated, as ambassadors of EU highlighted, that the EU has stated Nepal is not only a development partner, but a political partner. Nepal and the EU have shared interests, shared values, shared issues, and common issues on bilateral front or a global front as well. So we feel that a robust or stronger partnership between Nepal and the EU is natural as it is important. It is obvious that more engagements, both at political and diplomatic levels, will help take stock of the relations and chart out a new course in the days to come. Secondly, what we are doing is, in course of enhancing political and diplomatic engagement and deepening our understanding and expand our areas of cooperation, we have given importance on the need to have frequency of visit at a higher level between Nepal and the EU institutions. On this score, we can note that our Right Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. K.P. Sharma Oli, visited some European capitals last year, but we had to postpone his visit to the European institutions scheduled earlier this year because of the pandemic. And similarly, when we talk about the visit, our Foreign Minister, Honorable Mr. Pradeep Kumar Gewali, visited Brussels twice in 2018. Just before that, in 2017, then Foreign Minister Dr. Prakash Saran Mahad visited the EU and met with the leaders, including the President of the EU Commission. Similarly, from the EU side, we have seen many parliamentarians, commissioners, diplomats, officials, they visited Nepal over the years. These visits have been really important to further reinforcing our bilateral ties and then our will to reinforce our relations to a better stage. Thirdly, as you know that Nepal and the EU are holding joint commission under the framework of the EU-Nepal Cooperation Agreement. It was signed in 1996. The agreement provision to hold the joint commission meeting biannually. Nevertheless, we thought that the period of 2 years is too long to hold this sort of bilateral consultations, and it is also too long when we have many issues to discuss and find the common ground. Similarly, sometimes we also feel that 2 years too long to follow the issues we already discussed in the previous meeting and also implement those which are agreed upon. Precisely for the reason, we agreed to have the JC meeting to hold annually. As you know that last year we held the 11th meeting in Kathmandu. This meeting was, 12th meeting was held virtually on just last Friday. Fourth, we have laid emphasis on investment, trade, and tourism in our long-standing development partnership. Not only the development aid, and for this, both sides have acknowledged that Nepal was not able to fully capitalize in our interest on the Everything But Arms initiative. As you know that, the EBA is the preferential trade arrangement provided by the EU to all the LDC countries in order to enable their products to enter into the EU markets without any quota or without any custom duty. To get benefit from the EBA has become one of the major agenda of our joint commission and during our interactions and engagement with the EU and the member states. Of late, the EU is supporting the product development and value chains of the products, namely two products actually, coffee and pashmina. To our happiness, the last year when we held the joint commission meeting in Kathmandu, that time we thought that in order to sensitize the importance of trade, also the huge opportunity for the prospective investor from the European countries to invest in Nepal to share the information, the EU agreed to hold a seminar in the EU headquarters, inviting prospective investors and importers. But due to the pandemic again, we could not do so that year. We hope that we can find the concrete measures in the days to come in order to promote the trade and investment so that both sides can benefit from that. On tourism as well, the EU supported Nepal's endeavor to bring more European tourists. They expressed their earnest support to the Visit Nepal 2020. I was quite happy that it was during the opening of the Visit Nepal 2020, organized by the embassy in Brussels, the Deputy Secretary General of the European External Action Service attended and inaugurated our function. On investment side, we are trying to reach the private sectors of the member states. Meanwhile, the EIB has expressed its commitment to support Nepal infrastructure projects. They basically would like to focus on projects related to climate change, renewable energy, green economy, which are under their priority. Only in February this year, we have signed a loan agreement with EIB to provide 100 million for the transmission line in Nepal. And similarly, the EU has expressed its readiness to provide a blending facility if Nepal is to take a loan from the European Investment Bank. The blending facility will help make EIB's loan more cheaper and palatable to Nepal. Fifth, Nepal and the EU have been giving priority to the people-to-people connectivity. We are happy that people-to-people connectivity is growing over the years. To our satisfaction, the number of tourists from the region is growing. You would really surprise actually when we talk about the tourism in Nepal. Even in the pandemic situation, many European tourists are asking when Nepal is open for tourists. When they visit, I think when those people visit to Nepal, they bring a lot of memories and goodwill. They have become our assets when we talk about the people-to-people connectivity. Similarly, and on this particular issue, on the people-to-people connectivity, we discuss ongoing higher education cooperation. Now, the number of Nepali students studying in European universities is growing. Nepal ranks among the top 20 countries worldwide in terms of students being awarded the scholarship for Erasmus+. Only 2 years back, I remember when we were holding the 10th JC meeting in Brussels. That time we expressed our displeasure not to be utilized that scholarship scheme. This is an example of how our increased engagement and interactions pays off in our interest. Similarly, increasing number of Nepali diaspora in the region has become yet another contributing factor to our endeavor to promote people-to-people connectivity between Nepal and the EU. In fact, he is one of the youngest, he is one of the most vibrant and entrepreneurial communities in many countries in the region. The Nepali diaspora have created a vital link between Nepal and the member state of the EU. Even they played a positive and contributing role in expanding our diplomatic presence in the European capitals. In fact, they are the one who are consistently demanding diplomatic presence in different capitals in Europe. Just they concluded yesterday a regional meetings of all the diaspora in Europe. They also asked to open more embassies in the region. Sixth, even on the issues where we have divergent views, we have been, I think our Yuvrajji was trying to listen more on the divergent sides as well. We have been trying to promote proper understanding, appreciating each other's concerns, its context, sometimes our compulsion, be it in human rights issues or air safety measures we have taken in order to remove the ban imposed by the EU on our air operators. We are working for this very diligently and with all earnest in order to bridge the gap what we had before on those issues. Let me also highlight some issues how Nepal and EU are moving towards, or we can move towards when you talk about the global context, a changing global context or global geopolitical landscape. We may know that EU has a lot of soft power instruments which are so crucial for the Union and also to enhance its global role. Trade is one of the major issues and one of the few areas where the bloc acts as one. And similarly, we know that the European Union has the largest market in the world and most open market for many countries. Europe is the largest exporter of manufactured goods and services. It is the biggest export market for around 80 countries. That means 80 countries, they are exporting to European markets. The EPA facilities, on the other hand, which we talk about for the facilities given to the LDC like Nepal, and through the GSP and the GSP plus market facilities offered by the European Union to many developing countries, I have made the EU more like a benevolent power, you can say that. Similarly, the EU is the world's largest development.
You have to sum up within 2 minutes, please. Yeah.
Provider, and it is the largest provider of humanitarian aids. And similarly, on the coronavirus
Hello? Is there an issue?
Said, and there are so many areas where we can work together for their mutual benefit. And though they might have some geopolitical interest, so to speak, but we believe that Nepal believe that they know and they respect our long-standing principles in the foreign policy. That means the independent and non-aligned foreign policy. And then they also appreciate that amity with all and enmity with none has become our foreign policy mantra in the, from many decades and until now. Then I will just sum up. When we talk about the geopolitical ambition of Europe and Nepal, there was a high-level meeting when I was high-level meeting with one EU diplomats. He said that Nepal does not need to look around when it deals with the EU. Why he was saying was that the EU knows and respects Nepal non-aligned and independent policy in its international relations. So its ambassadors Nona also highlighted that we have many common issues and where we can work together in the days to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambassador Thapa, for your comprehensive presentation on the issue. In fact, you have a huge knowledge on this issue. Thanking you, we'll come back to you with some questions. And before going to the question, I would like to request you that please be brief to respond the question. And to all the attendees, the participants, please post your queries if there is any from your side in the question and answer box right there. Similarly, the Facebook users or watchers also can send us the question from the comment box, not from the inbox, but the comment box of the Facebook. So firstly, I would ask two questions to each of you, the common questions in fact, and maybe one or two questions to Nona from my side, Ambassador Nona from my side, and then I will take the questions from the participant side that you can also, the panelists can also see right here in the Q&A box in the Zoom screen. So firstly, I think it's better to start from Ambassador Thapa. If we look, the trade pattern between Nepal and EU, there is a huge, trade deficit. If I was going through the, data of the last 5 years, from 2015 to 2019, and there is a, huge trade deficit, a series of deficit, in fact, from 40 million to 400 million, not exactly the 400, but maybe 370 or 380 million euros, not the Nepali currency. So this is the trend of the, trade deficit of Nepal and, EU trade. So what do you think the, appropriate measures to, take it down on its 1 feet? I mean, to a reliable or the controlled way that can, harness the national interest or national, trade interest of Nepal for the benefit of both the sides. So what is your, take, Ambassador Thapa? And then we will go to another panelist with the same question. Please, Mr. Thapa.
Okay. Thank you so much. It is a very pertinent questions you have been asking to me, and that was the same the issues yesterday when I was talking with the regional meeting of our diaspora. I was highlighting the same thing, and yeah, it's unfortunate that though European Union has been offering that EVF facilities from 2001, but our trade has not growing as per the potentials what we have. Similarly, we have not been able to exploit this market for exporting our products. And for this, what I feel is that firstly, there is the gaps in the psychology in our side. When I talk with our manufacturer or business persons, they think that European market is difficult to export. That is the one. And from the European side, what I felt during my 4 years as ambassador here, that we have not been able to give more information. What are the products that can be imported to European markets? So that is the reasons why I propose to hold a sort of seminar inviting all the prospective importer from the European regions, also the investors. What I feel is that when we can have the more investment from whether it is from through the EIB or through the private sector, and that also give a good understanding that Nepal has a lot of things to export and to import from to the European market. And that's why all the embassies, and from my side, And we were under the economic diplomacy, we were focusing more on tourism. But I am asking to my colleagues and to in the embassy and to my ambassador colleagues in the other capitals that we need to give the proper emphasis on giving the more informations and then sharing the knowledge how with our the business persons and what are the available and what can be exported. That is the one. Secondly, and from outside, there are very less number of products which can be exported to European markets that we need to expand. And the European Union has supported, as I told you that, especially for the two products, for the product development and also for the value chains. We hope that we can discuss with the European Union and member states in order to take advantage of the EVA facilities, and we have to address our constant supply side constraint as well. And if we can bridge those gaps, especially quality control and then product development in Nepal, I'm sure and we can achieve what we want from the European market, export to export more products to European markets. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ambassador Depres, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, please.
You want me to reply to the same question?
Yeah, please. Did you get the question?
Okay. Yes, I got the question. I really don't have very much to add to what Ambassador Thapa was just saying. I think the European Union has provided this possibility for Nepal to benefit from this very preferential trade regime. It's called everything but arms, but Nepal has not been able to fully benefit from it. So I think Nepal needs to indeed work on some supply chains that provide big added value and that could be exported to the European markets. Of course, you are also in competition with other Asian producers, in both for pashmina, for tea, for coffee, etc. But I do think that there is a big potential. It's just that it's not being used. The EU also provides technical assistance to support Nepal in achieving the full benefit of the EBA. So we work with Nepal on providing information dissemination to the producers, but also providing information on the European standards. So I think on our side, we're really trying to make sure that our trade balance can be a bit more balanced between both sides. Then also what we mentioned at the meeting last Friday, the EU-Nepal Joint Commission, is that obviously Nepal also needs to prepare in its path to graduation. As Ambassador Thapa also mentioned in his presentation, needs to prepare to be able to also benefit from the other preferential trade regimes that will come into being once Nepal is graduated as least developed countries. And Ambassador Thapa already mentioned the GSP and the GSP+, so it's the generalized system of preferences. That is the EU's soft power. So you have a few years until you graduate to make sure that you can benefit from those. And the EU is, of course, ready to support that.
Thank you. Thank you. Ambassador Lamsal, do you have any comments regarding this question? You are muted. Please just toss to unmute. Yeah, you can speak now. Very briefly, please.
Okay, so I have a couple of observations and comments, and I agree with you, Ambassador, with most of the things. But you know, I have talked to the business people here in Denmark and Norway, and also with Nepalese business people, and regarding the promotion of the trade. Especially regarding the promotion of Nepalese export to these countries. But the thing is, they always say that the Danish entrepreneurs so the market itself, in Denmark, is a population is about 5.7 million population. The market itself in Denmark is small, and then the Nepalese business people, big business people, they do this. They say there's a small market. So small entrepreneurs, they should be effortful to export things like handicrafts and the pashmina and the tea, coffee, etc. So many things. So, but the market is small and the quantity is small, but one thing. And the other, so because of that, the business people are not very much interested. The second thing is, there is a complaint from the why they are not very much interested for doing trade with Nepal, importing products from Nepal, is that it's sometimes very difficult to maintain the quality. They say just I'm saying, because the first couple of consignment they give us in a very good quality products, and after that the quality deteriorates because of that. So there is no consistency in quality, number one. And the other thing is because of the transport, the cost goes up. Goes up. Because of that, the Nepalese products become little bit costlier compared to the products from Bangladesh and, let's say, Vietnam or the Thailand, China, etc. So because of that, also there is a problem. And the volume is also there. And of course, I agree with Ambassador Thapa that there is a lack of information. There are areas where we can just do better in exporting Nepalese products. So there is a good thing. And other thing is the taste of Nepalese people, Nepalese entrepreneurs. They have to know the taste of the particular European countries. No, taste of Danish may be different from the taste of the people of Belgium. So but individual countries' market is small. As a Europe, the European Union is a big market, but I think the tastes are different in individual countries. Norway and these Nordic countries have different taste, and Italy may have different taste. France have a different taste. So because of that, also the market is very fragmented. Very small market. Because of that, we have not been able to do that. Recently, just if COVID was not there, because I had talked to the Danish, just like FNCCI, there is DI, Danish industry. So I had just discussed with them to organize a meeting of Nepalese business people, FNCCI, and here the Danish industries, those leaders. So, and then there was a plan to extend their visit also, but unfortunately, because of COVID, it couldn't take place. So we are effortful. We have been doing what we can do. So let's see what happens in future. I'm hopeful.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have to be hopeful, but the scenario of the trade deficit is very high, and we hope that there will be a permanent take by the ambassadors and the Nepal government as well to reduce down this kind of trade deficit. And now I would like to go quickly with a question to Ambassador Nona Depres, and the same with a few comments by the two remaining ambassadors. I hope Ambassador Depres is listening me. Ambassador, do you agree with the statement that the world is changing in terms of power balance? And how do you assess the relationship between our two parties, the EU and Nepal, in this scenario? What will be the importance of Nepal and the region South Asia? Will it be remain the same after the post-COVID scenario and the changing context of the world power balance? So what is your assessment on this, Ambassador Depres?
Thank you very much. Well, I can only agree that of course the world is changing, And we are seeing a lot of power politics and a more and more contested world with geopolitical powers that are really playing hardball. And the EU also wants to play a role as a geopolitical power, but we use our soft power. So that is a very strong message also from the EU. I don't know whether you have had the opportunity to listen to the State of the Union by the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, 2 weeks ago. So we do want to be a geopolitical player. So I think that's why relations between the EU and Nepal are very important. We, of course, have our own geopolitical neighborhood. We are very far apart, distancing, but I think it is very important for us. I think if you also, I don't know, we have our own also connectivity strategy. We want to promote sustainable connectivity that is just, that is environmentally sustainable, that is fiscally sustainable, and with a proper impact assessments. We also have our own stance vis-a-vis China. I don't know whether you have seen, maybe Ambassador Tapa has seen the conclusions of the European Council. So it means it's the meeting of our leaders that took place last week, with a very affirmative, clear position on China, which is very much in line with the EU-China strategic outlook that was published last year. So I think the agenda of the EU is very clear, and I think we really want to work together to shape the global world order, to make it more sustainable, to make it more greener, and to make sure that we can shape also these standards together. And of course, to have it just also, to shape a just world. So I think maybe if I can just reply to one of the questions by a lecturer at Stockholm University, because you say that we don't have a geopolitical position, but we do aim to have a geopolitical position in between all of the powers. And it's not siding with one against the other, but it's really finding our own space. Of course, we have to do this together with our member states.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Ambassador Lamsal, do you have any comments about this, following this question?
Yeah, the world is changing. Geopolitical scenario keeps on changing. It's always, it doesn't remain static. You know, the 18th centuries were different, and 19th century were different, and then 20th and 21st century will be different. I told you that that in 19th century, it was European century in which the United Kingdom led the world, global power. And 20th century, until it remained until almost the end of Second World War, and then the power shifted to America, and it became American century, that in which the United States led and is still continuing to lead. And 21st century is being predicted not by us, but by even European and American, the political pundits and the strategists, and they say that 21st century is going to be Asian century, in which they say that, of course, China, let's say, these countries are going to lead. So there will be change, and it keeps on, global context, it keeps on changing. So it changes. And regarding the EU position, just you said, the EU position, it has been, you know, I am a little bit not happy with what European Union has taken the position on, even during Nepal, India, this blockade time and standoff that time. The European Union just issued a joint statement that's mentioning Nepal with India and European Union. I think European Union, just that time, United Kingdom was also part of the European Union. That time, you know, we are a little bit disappointed with the position the European Union took that time. So when we had a standoff, maybe because of the blockade with India, and even now, so we have the feeling that that the European Union and just sometimes doesn't take independent position on certain international issues affecting the entire world, including Nepal. So now I would be happy if European the Ambassador Nona said that we aim to have independent position, our own position. But I'm happy to hear that. But she said the European Union is aiming. So it means that currently it doesn't have. So I think let's hope that European Union will have the independent position, and Nepal would like to see we support, because we are non-aligned country, and we are clear on this. We even during the Cold War era, we didn't align with any of the power blocks. So we are independent, non-aligned. So I hope the European Union will support our our position, and even when we have issues on our region, in our region, I think I just would like to see the European Union not to see Nepal through others' lens, to see independently. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Lamsa.
Sorry, if I may reply to this. I just want to correct one thing. What I wanted to say, maybe I expressed myself wrongly, is that of course we have an independent position. We work on this position together with our member states, and it is really our position. I said we don't side with one and nor with the other. We aim to play a stronger geopolitical role in the world. That's our aim. But since the beginning, since always, we have been independent.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Yeah, that's true, Ambassador. So, Ambassador Thapa, would you like to put some inputs from his side, very quickly?
Of course, I also agree that the world is changing quite a lot, also changing quite fast, in the very fast pace. And then everybody also agrees that after the post-pandemic situation, world will be almost upside down. Let's see that. Having said this, Ambassador Nona already talk about that. When we talk about European, yes, if we see the global strategy of 2016 issued by the European Union, and we can see the ambition of Europe to be a global power or player, I would say that. And secondly, this commission and the new commission formed last year only, and they say that this is the geopolitical commission itself. That means that they have a ambition. They are just trying to focus on their capacity and to play a proper role, appropriate role, and on their own, and in the global power balance or geopolitical landscape, emerging geopolitical landscape. And similarly, if you see that the last year's, as Ambassador Nona already said, that the last week's a conclusion of the European Council, as well last year's they issued a China outlook, EU's China outlook. Through that, China is defined in the three. One is collaborations and cooperations, another is competitions, and third is this will be the strategic systemic rival. So there are three layers of their relations when they talk with China. And similarly, and we may note that the European Union has a more strategic partners in Asia than any other continent or regions. And it also manifests that, yes, and European Union has some sort of ambition to play its own role in the global power matrix, I would say that. So having said this, what I feel is that, and when we talk about Nepal and EU relations, they are much more independent. As I highlighted during my presentation, that EU also knows our geopolitical situations and our compulsions and our consistent policies, and whether it is the non-alignment and the independent policy. Similarly, and they have also appreciated, and we are highlighting that our relations with European Union and also all the member states, they are independent and they are based on our own merits. We should not look through the other glasses, or we should not be, we don't like to be seen from the other's perspective. That we would like to clear to the European Union and the member states. Having said this, I would also feel that EU power is not to confront, but to engage the world. That is that really I believe in. Secondly, European Union is to create a rule-based and the just old order, not to confront to any big powers on their own. And good thing is that they are engaging with all major powers, whether you talk about EU-US relations, with EU-China relations, or EU's relations with other countries in our regions and in the global stage. So I feel that the EU is to engage more countries like Nepal or other LDC and developing countries as well on their own, and these all should be more independent than from the global geopolitical perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Thapa. So in my side, lastly, I would like to ask a very quick question to Ambassador Nona. With due respect to the European Union's support to the development and enhancement of Nepal's development ahead, it has been a regular critics on diplomatic diplomatic field as well regarding some kind of stances and activities by the European ambassadors or European Union, like some kind of lobbying and using the non-diplomatic channels, especially it seems, and the government of Nepal also some time it has been seen that that has been criticized by the government as well. Especially it happens in the issue of the transitional justice and some kind of inclusion issues of Nepal. So, Ambassador, if you want to skip the question, you can do it, please. This is not so mandatory. So, I request you to take what is your to respond this question about your take in this issue. I guess you got my point, Ambassador Nona.
Yes. No, thank you very much. I think it is, as Ambassador Thapa said, the EU is a soft power, and the EU wants to exchange. And I think what is really most important is to keep the discussion going and to learn from each other's experiences. I think none of us is perfect in terms of human rights, in terms of inclusion, in terms of women's rights, and also, of course, also within the EU, there are countries that still have more progress to make, and there are also some countries that are going the wrong direction, in terms of human rights and inclusion and good governance. So I don't like the word criticism, because that is not what the EU has done. I think we have frank and open and candid exchanges on what can be improved and what still needs to be done in order to make the peace process complete. I think we all agree on this, and your minister has also said that this law is in front of the parliament, etc. So I think it is just good governance, and it's part of democracy that all of the parties would be able to provide proper oversight on the proper conduct of and the proper finalization of the peace process. So I think those are things that we have discussed. On inclusion, similarly, I think the constitution goes really a long way and is very progressive. I think now you also, I mean, this is no news, and this is not only something that the EU says. I think you require all of the bylaws, all of the laws to make sure that the constitution is properly implemented. And then, of course, what is most important is to see how it is really actually implemented in reality, to make sure that all of the actors have the proper capacities to fully play their role. I mean, I think we mentioned the fact that you have a very good representation of women in parliament. We just need to make sure, I mean, you need to make sure that all of those women and men equally have the proper capacities to fully implement their role of oversight. So I think these are just discussions. These are things that, you know, we ask the Nepali partners on the next steps, and these are just ongoing discussions that we need to keep ongoing. I'm not aware of any non-diplomatic things that you said at the beginning. I also saw that there is a question in the chat. I know that this is a common rumor of what the EU is supposedly been doing in Nepal. I want to very strongly I don't know the word in English. I want to very strongly say that this is false. You know, the EU is secular. We are not evangelists promoting Christianism in Nepal. I think we've been.
So, I stop you here, Ambassador, because there's a question you can see it here. In your, I just want to read this question that has been raised by Subarna Babu. Recent publication of the European Parliamentary Research Service clearly acknowledges EU's cooperation with faith-based religious organizations across the world as an important soft power tool of its external policy. As the majority of Nepalese consider EU being the surrogate mother of secularism in Nepal, does EU indirectly advocate for the globalization of Western European Christianity? So as you were talking, so this is the question that can be, you know, friends to go ahead. So please continue with this.
Yes, so I want to very strongly refute that. You know, in many countries in the world, we work with many faith-based organizations. You know, we work with faith-based organizations, we work with non-faith-based organizations. We work with Muslim organizations, with Hindu organizations, with Buddhist organizations, with Christian organizations. We work with the Red Cross, we work with the Red Crescent. I think, you know, I think the EU is one of the actors that honestly works with all of the different organizations, including the non-faith organizations, which are also very important. So there is no hidden agenda in this, absolutely not.
Oh, thank you. So there is another question to you that has been raised by Dhanapati Kharel. You can see there. European countries adopt democratic system based on social welfare. They are also victims of neoliberalism and data capitalism. Then why not working jointly with other nations to have control on these issues? Is market the dominant parameter of this regard?
Well, I think it's very clear also that in Europe we have social democracies. We have well-functioning markets, but we also have very high environmental, human rights and labor rights. So we do work with the rest of the world on those rights. For example, we are a very strong promoter of the UN Agenda on Business and Human Rights. So those include both the environmental rights and the labor rights, the human rights, and all of the inclusion rights. So yes, we do work on that, and yes, of course, it is true there is tension, especially now in times of crisis. It's an economic crisis over the world, so populism is gaining, I think, grounds everywhere, and certainly in Europe. So the EU is really a strong advocate of having those labor rights. For example, in our trade agreements, it's very strong. So we have a very strong binding on the Paris Agreement on climate change, but we also have very strong on the labor rights, and that is something that we want to work on with the whole world. And I think it's very important that we share the same standards, so that also our European companies can compete on a level playing field, and that there is a level playing field in the world, in the market economy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I will turn towards another panelist. Mr. Thapa, how do you evaluate the rocketing right-wing extremism blended with popularist politics in Europe? Do you think this can affect the EU-Nepal relations in future? Mr. Thapa, did you get me? I guess he's not here. Or maybe there is Ambassador Lamsal. Would you please?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Just right-wing populism is rising not only Europe, all over the world, including Asia, and but it doesn't represent the overall the sentiment of the entire European people and European governments. There are, of course, there are particular countries. In some countries, there are section of people. Always there is a right-wing things, and right-wing populism in the present has been a phenomenon. But it is not the majority views. I think European majority, and so in Nepal it will have. It doesn't. I don't think it will have any impact in Nepal. Of course, it depends on our own situation. In our own situation, because in democracy, it's the people's the voice in prevails. So I don't think it will have direct impact. Of course, in Nepal also it might there might be the right wing views and right-wing sentiment section might be there, but I think the European, the right-wing, the populism will have any impact in Nepal. It won't affect in Nepal, I don't think. Yeah, this is my.
all right, thank you. And Mr. Thapa is also here. And Mr. Thapa, is there everything okay with your connection? Actually, we cannot see and hear you.
Is it?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay, now there was a disconnections. That's why we need the digital connectivity between Europe and Nepal, and we always talk about that issue. So what was the questions? Can you?
Yeah. The question, just let me see again. The question is about the, rocketing right-wing extremism, in Europe, especially in politics. And do you think that can affect EU-Nepal relationship in future? Do you believe the statement, and what will be the consequences of this? So this may be the question. Did you get it? I think still there is a connectivity issue. So I think it's a time to turn to the last question to Ambassador Nona Depres. Do you feel the EU should or could soon lead the device an effective mechanism for the global commitments made so as to ensure their effectiveness and sustainability? Maybe this is question related to the Paris Accord of climate change. So that the new president cannot hamper Paris Accord of climate change again, for example. This is by the
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Very, very brief. Mr. Thapa, if you're getting us, please wait, because you are unstable. So
now
Nona will
repeat just again. There is an unstable line.
Please wait. Ambassador Nona will respond to the question, and then after we will come to you. Please, Ambassador Nona.
I think this is really one of the areas where Nepal and the EU are allies, and where we should really work together and make sure that our voices are heard. I think the EU has been working very hard on the implementation of the Paris Agreement, and also, of course, is hoping and encouraging partners all over the world that they also implement the Paris Agreement. I think then afterwards, I am not a specialist in the legal binding nature of any of these UN agreements, but that is certainly what we are working on to make sure that these commitments are taken very seriously, and that is also why we are a trustworthy partner, because when you give a word to implement an agreement, then we don't withdraw afterwards. And I think it's very important, if you want to play an important role on the world scene, that you are seen as a trustworthy partner.
Thank you. Thank you. Ambassador Thapa, is it okay with your connection now?
Yeah. What are the questions?
Yeah, I think we can see and hear. You can hear you. The question is, how do you evaluate the rocketing right-wing extremism blended with popularist politics in Europe? Do you think this can affect the EU-Nepal relation in future? Again, there is a problem. I think we are at the end of the session now. So last but not the least, I request all the panelists to deliver.
I think the relations were.
It's not clear, Ambassador Thapa.
So leave it then.
Are you listening me?
I am listening, but
yeah,
my voice is.
Just very, very briefly, please.
About the rightist movement in Europe, of course, it may impact on the political scenes in futures, but it depends. But on diplomatic side, what I feel is that when I met so many leaders who were chosen or elected from the rightist, party, and they also agree opinions with Nepal is much more important. That's why I don't think that in the near future it will have really an impact on our bilateral relations. But of course, if it continues, and it may have the political impact all over the world, not only Nepal.
Thank you. So panelists, now at the end of the session, you can just highlight some of your concluding remarks. So Ambassador Lamsa, please, maybe 30 seconds to a minute.
So in 30 seconds, I think so this is
1 to 2 sentences.
Yeah, Nepal, especially I always say that we need to learn the lessons from one another, because Europe is a prosperous, it's a very developed the region. So from here, I always tell Nepal should learn tea from the Europe. Just there are T's. I always say this one. Number one is time management. Number two is just the transparency. Number 3T is the technology, use of technology. Number 4 is transport system, and number 5 is the tourism, how tourism develop, and number 6 is this trade, how trade is conducted here, and similarly, and then those things are we need to transfer. And then when I went to Norway, they said, why don't you add 2 more? They said turbine, the hydropower turbine, and another T is just tunnel technology, tunnel. And another guy said from the Finland, they said, why don't you add 2 more? You said teaching, that's education system, like this. And so we need to learn tea, and we should bring tea from Nepal to drink, and we should learn tea from Europe. So if we do that, I think our relation will be further strengthened, and I think the cooperation will be promoted. So that's what we should do that, and Nepal, Europe is very important, European Union is important for Nepal, and Nepal is also important. As always said, it is going to be the heart of it's already Himalayan civilization, and it's going to be heart of the international power in the 21st century. So I want the European Union countries to make their presence. So more countries, I request more countries to open their embassies, including Denmark, to again restore their embassies and reopen and have more engagement there and support Nepal more and cooperate with Nepal. So you will also benefit. It will not only benefit Nepal, but Europe will also benefit. This is my take. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Lamsal. So another 1T is chasing us, that is time. So Ambassador Nona Tepres, what will be your concluding remarks, if there is any, please?
Thank you very much. I thought it was a very interesting and thoughtful discussion. So thank you very much for having put the EU-Nepal relationships as a subject of your webinar. Congratulations on the choice of the subject. I think EU-Nepal relations are very important in its own right, even in this geopolitical changing context. I would wish a long life to EU-Nepal friendship. I think we really have a lot in common. We have a lot to share, and I think we can further enhance our relationships and our alliances to work together on so many fronts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. So then, lastly, Ambassador Thapa. Oh, he's again not here. Just let me bring him if he's here. Yeah, he's right here. Just give me a few seconds. Let me bring him back again. Yeah, he's here. Ambassador Thapa, you please unmute yourself. I think there is a constant disturbance in your network. So lastly, you please add your concluding remarks from your side, if there is any.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like really to thank you. And so as we discussed, can you hear?
Yeah, it's clear. Please continue.
So our relations with the European Union is much more important, and they are more independent, more objective, and there are a lot of areas where we share our common interest and we share our common values, and we have we can take those issues and then those values together in the years to come. That's why I see a lot of prospect, whether we call it, we discuss about the trade, whether we call, about the investment, technology transfer, in green economy, on circular economy or digitalization. There are so many things where EU and Nepal can work together. I'm sure, despite all this, geopolitical game and or changing geopolitical landscape, and then we can take our friendship, collaboration, and together for our mutual benefit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are honored with your wonderful presence and your deliberation on the timely issues that has been raised by the topic as a topic of the webinar. All the ambassadors, Ambassador Her Excellency Madam Nona Tepres, Ambassador His Excellency U Lamsal, Ambassador His Excellency Lok Bahadur Thapa. We are very much pleased and honored with your presence and your deliberation. So having said with this, lastly, I would like to say goodbye personally and give the floor to the chair of this session, Dr. Risiraj Adhikari, the ambassador, former ambassador of Nepal to Malaysia, former advisor of the Prime Minister of Nepal. So the chair of the session, Dr. Risiraj Adhikari, please conclude the session with your concluding remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Namaste everybody. Welcome again. The paper presenter, H.E. Yugnath Ramsal, Deputy Ambassador to Myanmar. H.E. Lokbhadur Thapa, Deputy Ambassador to Belgium and EU. H.E. Nona Depres, EU Ambassador to Nepal. Other distinguished personnel with expertise and interest in regional affairs, multilateralism, foreign policy, and economic policies. Friends from media, my colleagues at NIIR, a very good afternoon. Let me express my heartfelt thanks to all of you, and I am delighted for your active participation and contributions in the preceding deliberations. I personally welcome Ambassador Nona from Nepal. I know we saw successful completion of our mission. Extensive views have been shared. Much has been discussed this afternoon on different aspects of Nepali relationship. I would not prefer to repeat it. Let me share briefly. Nepal-EU had best of the relationship that both the sides have nurtured for more than 4 decades. Nepal has been actively addressing the concerns of EU in bilateral, regional, and even in the world forums so far as it can. But the EU sometimes engages in public criticism or lobbies against the official stance of Nepal, which is literally denial of the core value of peace process of Nepal, as analysis says. Similarly, EU's ban against Nepalese airline to area territory is another issue of Nepal in the present context. It has been felt that there is need to work jointly on global issues as urgent in the wake of new challenges such as pandemics, climate changes, and threat to multilateralism. Nepal is thankful to you for providing immediate response in mobilizing a package of 10 billion Nepalese rupees against COVID-19 that hit Nepal. EU seems to wish to be not only a development partner of Nepal, but also a political partner. It can be interpreted as EU's desire to expand its influence in Nepal, as major global powers, United States and China, are just jostling for influence and trying to align it in their strategy and bit in one way or the other. Nepal being a poor landlocked country with a newly settled but still unstable political system, major external powers providing aid and assistance to Nepal tend to carry on influence on domestic politics, foreign policy, and economic and social agenda of their policy towards Nepal. While some major external forces seem to have hidden political and strategic interests, some others, like the European Union, are engaged in humanitarian issues. These external forces sometimes complicate the newly established peace and reconciliation process. Major powers, in this case the United States, the United Kingdom, and China, which have been engaged in Nepal's affairs, are involved in various security and developmental initiatives and seem to pursue extra-regional interests. US says from the defense perspective, Nepal is an important US security partner with an important role to play in regional stability. However, this slick expansion of US foreign policy in Asia does little to soothe suspicions in Kathmandu. Nepal's geographic position means it is sandwiched between 2 Asian giants, China and India. US remarks in Nepal seem designed to intensify the new Cold War that is emerging between China and the US by claiming that China's Belt and Road BRI jeopardizes the sovereignty of Asian nations. The Chinese embassy in Kathmandu takes against it and strongly denies this. This is a fluid political situation. Nepal expects positive role from EU in strengthening Nepal's national interest. It would be good to visualize how committed EU is in supporting Nepal's dream of prosperity of the people and develop Nepal. So that is all I want to express today. Again, I thank you all and welcome you. And we'll have similar seminars in the ways to come, in the weeks to come. And we look up for your participation and support. And now with this, I close this webinar today. Thank you very much.